As organizers, advocates, and activists, we must ask ourselves what kind of world we want to build for ourselves and for future generations. We must discover how we can create this liberated world together. State Voices has been on this path of discovery for over a decade. We know that we need each other to win and to bring about positive change. That is why we invest in people and we invest in organizations. We are, and our people are, our greatest asset.
As we think about the work to build a democracy, it's over 400 years old. We know that we need the tools of right now to meet that moment. We're facing opposition in many cases that are better resourced than we are, and that have a web of relationships that were built on inequality. And what we have is innovation, really smart people, and some of the most powerful tools for collaboration to bring to bear on it.
A lot of the folks who are leading grassroots movements have never had access to the things that infrastructure provides, namely money, but also just the connections and resources that we come across because we are this network of state voices, because we are state tables that are built to do this. So I think that the table, most importantly, can be a resource to partner organizations.
As I take a moment and I look back at the last 15 years of State Voices, we have so much to be proud of. The network started from the states up. We started with 4 state tables in Colorado, Oregon, Michigan, and New Mexico. And the idea was, how do we better coordinate? How do we better share data and align progressive strategies in order to win? We also launched our first offices in Detroit, Michigan in 2008. And I want to give a huge thank you to our founders, Ryan Friedrichs and Tracy Sturdivant, for their leadership and vision. By 2012, the network was made up of 15 tables and over 600 organizational partners. And since 2018, we added 8 new tables and doubled our partners to over 1,200. We expanded our data and technology offerings to over a dozen tech tools. In the last 5 years, we have re-granted more than $35 million, tripling the amount of resources moving compared to the last decade alone. State Voices is now the largest nonpartisan progressive network in the country. On a year-to-year basis, we're making millions of voter contacts. We're engaging in election protection to ensure voters have access to the ballot. And we're moving millions of dollars to the ground in order to invest in states and local organizing.
State Voices plays a pretty specific role in supporting pro-Georgia and in investing in the South. That shows up a lot of ways. One is Alexis Anderson Reed is very intentional about making space on the national scene for the work, the vision, the voices of leaders from the South. Because there are times, prior to 2020, where Southern states were overlooked and discounted. And so before we were the next hot thing, Alexis intentionally carved out space for us. And not just Alexis Anderson Reed as an individual, the entire organization.
We've trained thousands and thousands of people in how voter contact works. And they've given us so much valuable feedback to where we've created technology that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The greatest return that we got was the change in the elections, the change in our society, right? In more progressive societies. That is a great gift.
So I joined State Voices as executive director in 2018. We underwent a strategic transformation to better meet the political fight of our lifetime. So we are now in a political moment where authoritarianism and fascism is rising. We need to listen to communities who are most impacted by oppression to prioritize the issues that matter to us the most. Because when we fight, when we dare to dream, we win.
We've had some major wins against all odds, like passing the New Mexico Voting Rights Act. The very first Native American Voting Rights Act in the country was because it was informed by our communities.
We managed to pass Medicaid expansion at the ballot, and we expanded access to Medicaid for 200,000 Missourians.
A follow-up to the police murder in Akron that took place, in the summer of 2022. And then our partners at Freedom Rock were able to move quickly to collect signatures and put a police accountability measure on the ballot in Akron in November of 2022 that passed.
In 2022, we passed a Reproductive Freedom for All amendment to protect abortion rights in the state of Michigan. So one of the things that we're focusing on now is making sure that since we have the legal right, that we're protecting access to that right.
We work in coalition with We Choose Us. We re-enfranchised about 55,000 voters. Folks that have been impacted by the justice system now have their rights restored in Minnesota, and that feels very powerful when we think about expanding and also reimagining our democracy.
We're providing the infrastructure to an array of organizations who meet a diversity of needs on the ground. We must continue to fight until democracy is realized. And that time is now.
Liberation, it's a 500-year project, and I am one small piece in this overall chain. In my limited vision, given that I am swimming right now in capitalism and white supremacy and don't know a different world yet, I often think of liberation as the opportunity to choose.
A liberated future looks like to me where my daughter does not have to have any fear about going out into the world as a woman, and a woman of color.
I think if I had to think of a legacy, it's not that I need to organize these people in these communities, it's that I need to give them the tools to be able to organize themselves. And so that's what we're trying to do.
It's an honor to be a part of the legacy of the State Voices Affiliated Network. And I know we'll keep up the fight until a true multiracial democracy is realized, until we can all thrive, until we can all live in our full dignity.